Hi folks, it's new amp day for me today and I thought I would just share this with you. There's a little sound clip in one of the shorts actually from last night when I literally just plugged it in and played a bit. But I've spent a bit of time with this since and it is a Peavey Windsor. Now, I wanted a Marshall or a Marshall tone because I've got the Peavey Ultra Plus, which is that I adore. But it's an American high gain 3-channel amp, 6L6 tubes, and yeah, it doesn't really do crunch, even on the crunch channel. The Bugera can do a slight crunch, but again it's an American voiced 3-channel amp. Even although that one has EL34s in it, it's still a Peavey JSX in all but name. I've done an A-B comparison video of those two, by the way. Quite interesting. Well, to me it is. Maybe not. Anyway, and I've also got the Jet City JCA800, which is designed by Mike Soldano, and it's really a Chinese-made Soldano Hot Rod 50 Plus. Fantastic amp. Again, an insane high gain channel, which is the Soldano SLO, and a crunch channel, which is their hot rodded Marshall. But it is very different in the fact that it's super tight and articulate. It doesn't have any kind of sponginess to it. So I wanted a Marshall and that kind of tone. And I didn't really mind if it was from the 70s kind of super lead era, plexi, or a JCM800 or even a JCM900. I'm quite fond of the 900s. So started hunting the used market, and really even the 900s were still going for about 600 euros, something like that. So that was out of the question. The JCM800s were going for sometimes double that, pretty much not far off new price. So they were out, and as for trying to find an old super lead, no chance. No, they're long gone into, they've ascended. Anyway, I found this, and as you see, I've got the 4x12 cabinet with it as well. This is essentially based around the JCM800 with a bit more gain if you want it, but it's that kind of 80s voiced amp. It's like a hot rodded 800, but it will do less gain. So it does the crunch thing, it does the 70s thing. So not a brand new, but a brand new looking amp. Not a scratch on the pots, never really been out of house by what I can tell. And a matching cabinet, 300 euros for the lot. Which to me was just no brainer for an old tube amp. Anyway, it is one channel, nice and simple. That's what I wanted, and I'm not fussed about having multiple channels for this. I have multi-channel amps. I wanted essentially a one-trick pony, so here we go, one trick. One channel, and it's got an effects loop that works really, really well. That's been well done. But over the likes of a JCM800, it has got a resonance knob, the same as you get in a lot of Peaveys. The 5150 had it, that Ultra Plus has got a resonance switch. This is a resonance knob, it's got presence, and it's got a thing called the texture knob, which is like essentially makes it sound like a Class A amp at one side and a Class AB at the other. The Class A, I'll let you hear it, but it's like a low power mode. It's not low power, it's just an inefficient system. But it has a slightly different characteristic. But for me, this has been geared towards the Marshall sound, hence the gold plate. I have no idea who thought making it look like a kind of penguin was a good idea. That's going to be changed, but that's for a later date. The effects loop, I've got a few things I want to do with that at a later date as well, so keep track of that. Anyway, the high gain and low gain inputs I've found affect the volume, but they really don't affect a huge deal the amount of gain. You're not going to plug into the low gain sound and get a cleaner or much cleaner tone. So this essentially doesn't do clean. I'll turn it right off. I'm going to use my Jackson DK2, Japanese Jackson, because this has got Seymour Duncan JB in the bridge and 2 single coils, so it's going to give you some tonal variation. Nothing in the loop, no reverb in this at all. Some people say that was a missed opportunity, but a plexi didn't have that, a JCM800 didn't have that, so it's a pretty decent nod at where it came from. It's called a Windsor, which Marshall's came from Bletchley, so they should have called it the Peavey Bletchley. Might not have sounded so good. Anyway, I've got all the EQ at noon, resonance and presence at noon, and the preamp volume is now currently off. So I'll put the preamp volume up to 1, and as you hear, even in that, it's already kind of breaking. I've got no boosts on or anything. Takes boosts really well. I'll get to that. So put this up to about 3, so there's 10 o'clock. So you can hear it's got plenty sustain at that. It's got that Marshall kind of growl to it. Real attack, very cutting. It'll work great in a band mix. So I'll just bump the gain up to 11 o'clock. That's the kind of top end of what a plexi would be at, and it has that tone. And I've seen a few reviews from people say, oh, it's not really a metal amp. It's not meant to be, but it will actually get pretty damn close. And with the right boost, you're going to get there, no bother. So, gain up to 1 o'clock, and it begins to really wake up it there, but I'll show you. I prefer it backed off to just below midday and then boosting it. It seems to retain a clarity, but here we go. We're going to push the valves, the preamp a bit more at 1 o'clock. But if I roll down the volume, I'll flick it to position 4, the 2 single coils. Single coil sound. So if I go back to the bridge, you're in crunch territory for sure. Up to 3 o'clock. By the way, I've just noticed these controls don't go to 11, they go to 12. It's got old long ago. Anyway, this is it at 3 o'clock. And full up gets a bit noisier, but still not ridiculous. Full up, it's beginning to really get a bit smudgy and a bit mushy. So I'll take it back and just above halfway, and we'll just below halfway, and I'll just sweep through the EQs. So the bass, unlike Marshall's, the EQ actually does do a bit in this. So bass up full, bass right back, mid less control, that's up full, right back. Now this is where it's fairly interesting. I'll go and do the treble first. Treble. Brightens it up, but it doesn't seem to get harsh. Still incredibly Marshall-y. And right back, very muffled. Now, there is a boost button, but it's not so much a bass boost, it's very much a mid shift. And it's one thing I just will not use. It's foot switchable too, and I've got the foot switch. I really don't, it's too drastic. I'll let you hear that. To me, it just makes things sound boxy. So. And on the single coil sound, compared to the off, and on the bridge, yes, maybe for lead work, but it's still muddy. It's not, you know, if I ever dive in there with a soldering iron, I might wire it into doing something else, but really that's not an issue. The other button on the foot switch, because this doesn't have a reverb, switches on and off the effects loop. That's incredibly useful because I can maybe set up, you know, the rack mount, have it wired in with a delay, slight EQ boost, something like that, and switch it in from the floor. So rather than having to have a delay pedal running all the way, I can just have a little short send and return into that, or a delay pedal up on the top, or whatever I want. Even just as a volume boost, if I wanted to up it for a solo. Yeah, so that's usable. Master volume goes from obviously off to blow your head off. It is just ridiculous. And the resonance control, this I love, because Marshalls don't do that, which makes this amp much more usable at room volume because you can dial it back. Doesn't have the bright cap, the same as a plexi does, and master volume, so then you get your gain at lower volumes, but the resonance lets you add in some thump even at room volume. So this is it fully off. 9 o'clock. And full up. So that to me is a very usable control. Presence as well, full off. It's still quite bright, and that, like I say, everything else is halfway. Full up. It's very subtle, very, very subtle. The presence isn't drastic. The treble has more control over than the presence, but work in conjunction. And I'll let you hear this texture knob. Like I say, this is it in the high power setting in AB. And you can blend them. So here's halfway, which is fine. And the inefficient class A. So rather than it being the valves working like so, you've got kind of them doing this. There's a technical term. Look up Science of Loud, Colin Scott. He explains these things in a Scottish accent much better than I do. The way that this has been described, and I can see that, I can hear that anyway, is it's a bit more voxy. So if I say whack up the preamp a bit, you're into that kind of Brian May Queen. It's kind of in there, without the chime. However, if I just whacked up the presence and whacked up the treble, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you can kind of do a kind of Queenish. Something like that. Luckily I never play well enough to have any copyright strikes. So yeah, that does that. So if I play the same riff in A, class A, low power, and then play it in class B, you can hear there's a more bite, there's a drive to it comes in. So if I take the preamp volume back down, preamp volume is just gain. So it's gain, bass, middle, treble, master volume, resonance, presence, and texture. But if I take the gain, the preamp volume, down to about 10 o'clock, that's got a lot of spank to it. That will just absolutely soar through a mix. You know, wow. So if you've got a Strat, this will give you your kind of Hendrixy driven sound quite nicely. If you've got a Les Paul, without touching a thing. It's got classic rock all over this. It really does. And AC/DC in spades, even with the preamp volume at 4. And it sustains, and we're not really loud in here, but people do have a tendency to use too much gain. So however, I'm going to go on and give it too much gain. So I'll put the gain back up to about halfway. Try it at 2. No. There's a point where you lose that crispness, so if you're boosting it, if you're already into mush, it doesn't really work so well. So I've got a couple of boost pedals, and one of them is the good old standard Boss SD one, because it's my Tube Screamer version. I've also got the Wampler Triumph, and just let you hear how this responds to a simple, cheap boost pedal. And again, I've really not dialed anything in, so if I just take off some mids on that, because obviously the SD one is boosting the mids, and give it a touch more bass and whack up the resonance. Because we're in the room, playing live you would wind the resonance back. Give it a bit more mids. Do you know what we need to do? We need to do the Marshall thing. And that is preamp full up, bass full up, everything full up. So no boosts. Let's see if it can do something Van Halen-ish. Kind of. It's just a bit noisy. I think we'll have a better reaction if we just back these off a touch and boost it. I'll go and I'll do a bit with the Wampler Triumph, which has got more output than the Boss SD one. The Boss SD one, even with the level maxed, hasn't a huge amount of output. So the Wampler Triumph, I've only got it set, everything's on noon except the volume, which is actually set back a bit. And that retains a crispness that the SD one doesn't. That's why I love the Triumph, it's so controllable. And that's more than enough gain to gig with. More than enough. I just shoved the SD one into the Triumph there, and that gives you plenty creaminess for lead work. So yeah, if you want to add a phaser to that, this just seems to work so well as a rock pedal platform, as it should. That's it back off. It's just something that inspires riff after riff of kind of classic rock. You can AC/DC all day long, but it will do more. And it's almost there for metal. It really is. If you've got it cranked, you will certainly be heard. So here we go a bit more. And it just has that classic Marshall sound. And you know, that's plenty for that. Great. Yeah, so this is why I wanted it. I wanted that 70s style riff rock sound. Needs a bit more gain for that. You know, yeah, it's great. It's just so inspiring to play and so dynamic. Go into the neck pickup. And that's with this cabinet. I'm going to try it at some point into the Harley Benton with the Celestian Vintage 30s because I think that will make it much crisper. But that's again another day. But this is just so nice. Bit more for that one. preamp gain is only at 5 o'clock, so I'm boosting it there, but you don't really need to. There it's at 9. So 9 is that. 2 o'clock. And boosted. And you've got to think, back in the day, that kind of sound, Iron Maiden used that, Randy Rhoads used that, Van Halen used that, Thin Lizzy, Deep Purple, Judas Priest, you know, geez, Steve Vai used that on kind of plexi JCM800 sound on his album with David Lee Roth, Eat 'Em and Smile. They weren't using mega high gain amps. So yeah, does it do hard rock? Absolutely. Is it a Marshall? No. It's a Peavey. It's made in China. But it's great. It's for what it's designed for. It's great. And if you want to do metal, you can. And I'll show you how in another video. So that's over half an hour of looking at a 1-channel amp. But it's so nice to play. It's just addictive to just play all those old riffs. And you just can't stop playing all those classic rock stuff. So, yeah. Great. Bargain. Absolute bargain. I mean, 4 power tubes today will set you back 120 to 140 euros. 3 preamp tubes will set you back another 50, 60 euros. So there's essentially 200 euros of tubes. A 4x12 cabinet, any 4x12 cabinet will still set you back 150, 200 euros. And this is a complete rig. So yeah, a guitar I picked up second hand for 250 euros. Shove a Boss SD1 on the floor, or a Tube Screamer for 20 euros, a Tube Screamer clone, 20 euros. And that, under 600 euros for a perfectly good gigging rig. It's a win. So thank you very much. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. Hope you've enjoyed some of the ramblings and some of the little riffs. And I'll have something for you again very soon. Bye bye.